All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the #1 show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. To my regular listeners, you already know how I get down. You already know what I'm about. We bring gems of people. We bring it to you every single Monday. There's a brand new guest who's doing some amazing. Did I say amazing? Some amazing things out there in the universe. And today I am so excited to talk to a Jaclyn Strominger, who, one of the things, Jaclyn, well, before I even get started, just how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Well,
Just kind of.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to be a guest.
Yes. And well, I'll tell you why I was excited to have you on because I am a writer. I'm kind of, I guess you can call me old school when it comes to the way AI works and how people are constantly, using AI to write books and things like that. I still write all my material. And one of the things I actually read about you is that your background is of a publisher in a magazine, like an actual physical hard copy magazine where I don't know if any listeners actually remember these, but your background is that of actually putting pen to paper, writing it, having it leave. And there's something real about having a hardcover book in your hands, whether it's a magazine, whether it's a newspaper, whatever it is. So I would love for you to kind of just dive into your background as a writer and how you were able to, and this is an intentional plug, take your leap, right?
Right.
Take your leap
Right.
of faith and build the business and the things that you're doing now. So I'll kind of give you an open slate and
Yes.
you can run with it, and we'll kind of go from there.
So my background, when I was in college, and I know we're not supposed to admit our age, but I will tell you, I'm 56. So,
Come on, man. That's a young looking 56-year-old woman, right? Just stop all that.
um, but when I left college, I knew that I wanted to get into magazine publishing.
Yes.
And what I liked was that what I did was I ended up I wrote and I actually wrote copy and I got into the consumer marketing and I loved the industry. And I loved being able to take the people that were coming to the magazine and give them stories, give them information and help them. I actually worked on the B2B side. So I actually at one point one of the magazines I worked for was actually my first consumer magazine was Success Magazine. And that was
You're no kidding.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Success
heard.
Magazine. And the second magazine that I worked on, you may laugh, was Mother Earth News and Psychology Today.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a
Now,
wide
Mother Earth,
right there.
right, like depth and breadth, right? So
Right.
Mother Earth News was really interesting because we actually helped people who really wanted to, take advantage of the earth. And, you know, we had people that would write in and saying, I read your magazine 20 years ago and you told me to save stuff and I don't know what to do with it now. And I'm like, we got to go figure that out. I don't know.
Right.
But what I loved is that we were helping people and we were serving people and you were helping people in lots of different ways. That's one of the best things about the genre of about the magazines is that they were all serving a purpose. And I loved it. Now, the crazy thing for me and for my story, and I don't know if I hope people can relate to this, but as we start that first job, when we get into our career, not all of us get into a place where we have an amazing leader or mentor or person who is helping us drive our career and get us into the right place and help us define different paths.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually where I ended up. I knew I wanted something more and I kept searching for something,
Mm-hmm.
and I back then it was like, okay, stay at some place for 2 years because you want to move up and you want to make more money. It was like 2 years more money, 2 years more, like,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I felt at that time for me, nobody was coaching me
Mm-hmm.
to, in any way, shape, or form,
Right.
to either stay at a career or stay at a magazine, to move up with there or, anywhere. So it was all on my own.
Yeah.
And I got married. I was doing amazing, right? I did like on the outside, it was doing amazing, but inside, I
Mm-hmm.
still always felt that there was something missing.
Right. And I want to make sure I pause you there because there are a lot of business owners that tune into this show. And what she's expressing, business owners, when you see a young person who's very passionate about what they do, it is doing you a huge disservice to be intimidated by that person. You've got to nurture that person. Like if I'm a
Yes.
business owner seeing you and you're passionate, you just said it, you loved helping people. You have a wide range of areas in which you can write about. You would probably be doing this for free if it was feasible. You as a business owner, you have got to take advantage and stop being intimidated by that type of person because it doesn't serve you. Eventually, as you're going to learn it throughout this interview, they move on and they find a better situation as opposed to working with you, which she would have easily been again with the person who helped coach her, help mentor her, say, hey, Jackie, why don't you put out your own book? Hey, Jackie, create this. Hey, Jackie, do this.
Right.
All these little things that may have been beneficial to you back then, they weren't there. And then eventually you just said, fuck it. Hey, I'm moving on and doing my,
Right.
why not? And
Right.
no one's mad at
Right.
you. That's exactly the way it should be. So I'm just putting it out there for you as business owners. Recognize the passion in people so you do not get, so you don't get burnt in so many words. So
And
go ahead.
actually,
By
I
the
would
way, that
almost like
happens on this show. When I get excited, I start
no, and I
going.
appreciate it because that's actually, I mean, that was what I ended up getting into was basically what I teach people right now is that when you're in a business, if
Hmm.
you whatever your business is, if you're that CEO, you've got to bring when you're bringing people into your company in that interview process and when like day one or part of that process is asking them not only what they can do for your business, but ask them what they want in life. What are
Right,
they looking for?
right,
Because you never know. Somebody might be applying for the role in marketing, but in actuality, maybe they were really better off in operations,
mm,
or maybe they're better off in sales, but you don't know unless you ask. And
right.
Dale Carnegie said this
Hmm.
years ago, which is basically you want to hire people who are smarter than you so that you know that you can train them to take your job. And
Yeah,
why do you train people to take your job? Because you
right,
have to grow.
right.
Right? So if everybody just comes in and don't be intimidated by people, but nurturing, and
Yeah,
that's why the word manager I cannot stand. It's,
right,
really you're a leader. You're a leader, whether you're like level one leader, level two leader, level three leader, whichever level you're at, you are leading people that are working with you,
mhm,
not for you. Keywords, people don't use the word people work for me. They work with you. It's always a team and help bring people up.
mhm.
So,
But what gets me about that is this is all adults doing this to kids. This is all adult language. Things like managers, things like, working for me. These are things that kids learn through adults, and it's how they see adults approaching their jobs every single day. And this is why, again, I'm going to continue to repeat this throughout this entire interview. I'm excited to have you on because you teach adults to switch up their language, switch up
mhm,
the way you think, write certain things down. So many things so many little tips that you're giving adults that they have to start incorporating into their language because, as you can see, the words you're using, like manager, like rules, like you work for me, when a young person gets a hold of these words, they're starting like from they're not even starting on the same start line with some people. Some people
right.
I've heard people tell me I'd be happy to make $80,000 a year. Like young college graduates who were content and say, look, as long as I'm making 80K a year, I'm good. Like, what kind of mentality is that? What kind of mentality? And then you look at the environment, you look at where they are, and then you see, okay, it's because of the adults and how they were able to, just get into their subconscious mind. So,
Right.
and I'm curious to hear how your story went is when you decide, I guess when you decide to leave the company or when you decided enough was enough, you just said you were married with kids and all that. There's a lot of women out there that say, I'm not, no, I'm working. Like, there's no way. How were you able to make that transition? Because I know plenty of women that decide, I'm making that excuse. I'm not doing this. Or can you help especially the ladies out there listening who make that excuse of, oh, I'm married with kids. I'm not getting the business. You're obviously the opposite. So go ahead.
So, there's a couple of trains of thought for me. So number one is my uncle moment, so to speak, was when I was driving. as I was literally in a career. I was doing sales. I had switched to sales in magazines and taking magazines digital.
Mm-hmm.
And and at some point, I remember somebody we were having this discussion, and I was, you know, there's three of us, and one of the women said to the other woman, "Oh, that's not going to help your career." And there was this weird moment in my brain that I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
I have not thought about my career.
You just said it right.
This I've just been this has become a job."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a huge difference. And it was like this light bulb moment that went off, and I'm like, I forgot. I totally forgot. I had been going through the motions.
Yeah.
I'd been It was all about the money. It had become the paycheck, the
Mm-hmm.
taking and I was like, this is I'm not living. I'm existing. I'm not living.
Yeah.
And so I remember I came home and I said, something has to give.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, like, what do I want? Why did it become
Right.
a job? And the reason it became a job was because I didn't have the same vision, and I really didn't know what the vision of the CEO of this company was. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that we were kind of butting heads on things. And I said, what's my vision?
Yeah.
And yes, I have two young kids,
Mm-hmm.
but I want my kids to see me as somebody who works hard,
Yes.
who 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 knows the value of my time, and for me to be valued.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they're young, but the key thing is young kids don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, if I want to do anything, I want to have a great career so that when my kids are older, I have more time with them.
Yeah.
Bigger kids, bigger problems.
Yeah.
Young kids, yes, it's hard to drop them off. It's hard to get them, trust me, right? It's that pain that you dropping off your kids. You're like, Mommy, don't, right?
Yeah.
But,
Right. Preaching to the choir
right?
with that. I know exactly what you're talking about, right?
Right? But in actuality, they don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say this, but they don't remember. And they're going to be better off. They're going to become a lot more independent. And then you're going to become independent, and your kids are going to see you happy. And so I had this moment where I came home and I'm sitting there and I'm like writing, like, what do I want? And I
Mm-hmm.
just started to write out my vision. And I thought, okay, well, this is what I want. And it's not what I needed. And the key thing is, it's what I wanted. Need and want are different. It's what I wanted. And I said, okay, well, what are the steps I need to take to get there? I
Mm-hmm.
started putting them into place. And I realized that me working at this company
Mm-hmm.
was not my vision. And so I thought, well, what is my vision? And so when I'm writing that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this come to fruition.
Right.
And it's turning that mission and deciding what you want, and go mission to fruition,
Right.
and make it happen. And
Right.
that's what I love to do with that's what I love doing with my clients. I love taking my clients and helping them really spend time crafting and looking at what their vision is, making that mission statement,
Mm-hmm.
and making a plan so it does come into fruition. And there's always going to be, steps forward and steps back, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, life is not a straight line up or a straight line flat, right? It's always the roller coaster, or there's always the highs and lows.
Right.
And that's why I love working with my clients and working with people to help them go through the highs and lows. Because when we're in the lows, that's where the grit comes in, that's where the learning comes in. And then we level up a little bit, and then we
Right.
learn a little bit more, and we dip down a little bit, and we have a little bit more grit, and then we go up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in those highs and lows. And when I was in the corporate world and I was hit that low, I was like, I can go out on my own. I can do my own thing.
Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure I don't brush over something that you said, and what you initially started with is, and this is again for anybody that has any control over the school system, any adults, any educators, any passionate educators like myself, she heard the word career, and it was almost like something hit her like, whoa, what was that? It's like a brand new term. All right. And I'm bringing this up because in our, what equates to success in our school systems or in our systems in general, the word job is thrown around too much. The word career, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, we're living on two separate parts of the entire United States. The word
Right.
career does not get mentioned barely at all, because I had a similar experience when it's like, man, that word career versus job, it's like it's almost like you never, it's almost foreign in the school system. You
Yep.
never hear it when you sit back and learn about what it is you want to do. And similar to you, I just wrote a mission statement. I just started, it's up to this day, egosblogspot.com. I just wrote a mission statement. This is what I want my life to look like. And it just as you write, highs, lows, you're gonna go broke, you're gonna do this. There's so many things. But if you have this thing written, the power of actually writing stuff down and then applying
Yes.
it. And I'm not talking about somebody else, and this is where I want to get your opinion on, chat GPT and AI and all these things that are writing for us. And that's why I'm kind of leery about these things. But when you actually put pen to paper, write something down from your heart, not because you're going to get a grade on it, not because the teacher's going to like it, not because it's going to, maybe get you in a fancy college. You're writing it because this is what you want your life to look like. The power of that, listeners, listen, I can resonate. We're on the screen and I can
Yeah.
resonate with that feeling because it's a beautiful feeling. So, with that, well, go ahead. Did you have a thought?
Yeah, I was gonna just say, so pen to paper is so important. As a matter
Mhm,
of fact, actually, and one of the reasons why it's a neurological, it's, your brain turns on when you take your thoughts and you put it on paper.
mhm,
It's it turns your brain on, and it's like, ooh, a thought's coming out, and
mhm,
you remember things better. It's why note taking is really key instead of typing. Is
mhm,
if when you're handwriting, or when you, and I always, and I say this to, if I feel like I can't preach this enough. At
mhm,
the beginning of the week, every single day, take out your planner and write out your day.
mm,
Write out your mission or the goal for the day. What is your goal for the day? Write it out. Write out what the steps are that you need to do every single day.
mhm,
Because when you write it out, it goes up here, and it goes from here to your heart.
mhm.
And there's more memory that happens. So pen to paper is so important. It
Right.
turns your brain on.
Right. So, like, how were you able to, I guess, manage and deal with all the changes? Because, like you said, you've seen a lot of things change digitally with magazines, with Chat GPT, with AI. How are you able to stay relevant? What are some of the things that you're doing to try to give that old school feeling? I'm not going to be up here and say all these new things are bad. I don't think they're bad. Sometimes I use Chat GPT just to get a title. I put out a ton of material every day. So sometimes I'll use it just to give me some ideas. So I'm just kind of
Yep.
curious how you're able to manage this new world we have now, I guess.
Right. So the new world of AI, right? So I I think that one of the biggest things for me personally,
Mhm,
I tend to write out like a really big thought, and craft almost like a paragraph
mhm,
of thoughts that are in my head. And then I may ask chat and say, okay, chat, or pick your AI platform that you like.
right.
Um, this is what I am looking for. I need to go deeper in this. Can you do some research for me
Mhm,
to add to my to add to this story,
right.
and help me do the research to craft this to make this more impactful? And then I'll ask it to write, and then I look it over, and then I write some more, because I don't just take what it spits out. And but I think you have to me, I look at it more as a research tool. Like, it's gonna do some research for me faster than I can do the research.
Right, right.
So that's where I tend to use it, but I'm the one that's coming up with
The
the
overall idea.
thoughts, and
Right,
the,
right,
and I think it's really great to use for, here's not a title for a book that I have, or here's a title for, like, I'm doing a retreat in September,
right.
and it's the initial part of the title is ignite your boldest, and achieve the power that you want for your future. and asked it to come up with some different names for me because I was like, okay, well, what are some really great names that would be catchy that might resonate with people?
Right.
And it's nice to have that. It's almost like, having your built-in um brainstorm session, right, with somebody else.
Right.
So, but at the same time, asking it to write your term paper for you, no.
Right. That's actually where I was going next because as I was mentioning before we start recording, I teach. I teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education, and we very closely monitor the kids' literacy rates. We've held kids back if they weren't on certain literacy rates. I feel like I fight, like I literally, not physically, but it is a actual shouting match, Jaclyn, between me and a student when they don't want to write down certain things, write down a sentence, teaching them how to run a paragraph, the whole thing. So I'm curious on, because you have two daughters that you've seen, I believe they're in, is it high school now?
Yeah, actually a son and a daughter. So my daughter actually
Oh,
just
yes, no, no, no,
just
no, excuse me.
yeah, my daughter just graduated um high school, and she's heading off to college in the fall. She's going to Washington University in St. Louis. Um and my son is a sophomore, rising junior. Sorry.
So with the younger generations, the kids, and I've coached high school football as well, so I've been around that age. Do you see them, like, how do you see this affecting them when it comes to creatively writing? And when I say creatively, because I could think of my high school self or my kid self, and believe it or not, I couldn't stand, I mean, I was a football guy. Only thing I cared about was football. If it wasn't affecting football, I wasn't really caring about it. But I'm curious on how it may be affecting the young kids when you can chat GPT something for a quick quiz, get an A on it, the teacher never knows. And the habit that it can probably create in them is probably like, this
Right.
isn't going to be a good outcome.
So interesting. So maybe my kids are a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Um the schools monitor it. The schools monitor the writing, and they run there. I know that there's a few programs that they can run them through to see if they are using
Ah, all right, perfect, great. Wow.
if they're using AI to write it. Um my my kids, so the schools are using something to monitor, and my kids basically um don't necessarily use chat gpt to write their paper. They physically have to put pen to paper, and then they actually can type it out. But part of that process is where the teachers are coming in and
Mhm.
saying you have to, like, they have to write it and
Mhm.
hand the written part in,
Right.
and then they can take it and type it in. So they're monitoring it that way too. Like, it's almost like, okay, make your first paragraph here, write it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can so you can't, it would be really awkward to write a paragraph yourself and then do a paragraph in chat gpt and then write another paragraph yourself. That would
Right.
look really, it would sound really awful.
Got it.
So they definitely monitoring it, and I think again, there's a lot of great benefits for it, but I think what's really important is that the kids and teenagers and everybody need to know, how to write, because writing is communication.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that I teach in my framework with my clients is the first is L in
Mhm.
the LEAP, which is level up your communication. And
Right.
what does that necessarily mean? That actually means you've got to have your vision and your mission statement, and then you have to be able to communicate that to the
Mm-hmm.
people that are around you, both your family, your company, your team members, the people
Mm-hmm.
that work with you.
Right.
That has to get communicated, and you have to use communication with your clients and the people that you're interacting with. And
Right.
that's one of the biggest things that I see, that to me is one of the biggest hurdles that we are going to have with the younger generation,
Right.
is that they get stuck doing a text message, in 140 characters or 100, whatever it is, that they can put in there, and they don't necessarily know how to do what you and I are doing right now, which is actually having a long conversation,
Dialogue. Right.
and or getting people comfortable picking up the phone to
Mm-hmm.
use it as a phone, like to dial, right? And say, "Oh,
Right.
hi, this is Jaclyn," right?
Right.
And or, "Hey, we've got a deadline. Where are we in this?"
Mm-hmm.
you know, people use it and that we hide behind this in a lot of ways.
Come on,
So
preach,
my
preach, preach. Yes, I mean I've said that so many times on this show that the listeners are probably. I'm glad someone else because you guys,
saying it.
you guys hide behind your accounts, you hide behind this phone, and you don't actually have to pick up the phone and explain yourselves to people in a thoughtful dialogue. So,
So, so you know, being an educator, I mean, I am always like, you are doing like amazing work because I don't know if I could do that. I, you know, and I would find it very frustrating, I think, seeing people using their phone and texting and trying to trying to help the younger generation understand the power of
mhm,
conversation
mhm.
and storytelling. I mean, you think about, right? Like, let's go back, you know, to tribal days, right? You
Yeah,
know, and people used to sit and tell stories.
yes.
That was their entertainment. And if you were a good storyteller, I mean, the imaginations. And so we're missing so much because people are forgetting to use their imagination to tell stories. And I always say, use your imagination to sit and dream.
Mm,
And where do you want it? Like, what do you want?
mhm.
So if if we can, you know, technology is great and moving forward is great, but we have to take the things that are really good that we've learned and expand upon them and not forget about them.
Yes, the core of it, and you hit the nail right. It's the storytelling, the actual storytelling. Somebody that is doing this, they tell the story, and this next person picks up on the story, and they remember it, and they start applying to what it is, what they want to do. That story is what they remember. They're not going to remember maybe little details and all that, but it's the story of knowing. I mean, we had a student, young black female. She's a gymnast, and every other two words, I'm Simone Biles, I'm Simone Biles, I'm Simone Biles, I'm Simone Biles, or I'm Gabby Douglas. You know, that story of seeing someone who's done it, she tells that story. That's what pushes society forward. And with that, I do want to make sure we get this in. You know, you already mentioned your frameworks and how you serve clients. So can you kind of dive a little deeper into that? And well, first of all, who would be your ideal client? And then what are the frameworks and what are the things that you kind of take them through and how do you help them?
Yeah, so I guess you could say my ideal client is somebody who really is who wants to get 1% better,
Mm. Yes.
right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
1%. It's
Yeah.
not about 20,000%. It's 1%.
Hmm.
It's really getting to that next level where they have something they've been trying and trying and trying,
Hmm.
and they just can't seem to move the needle. Or
Hmm.
maybe they're moving the needle, but they're not feeling that success. So I know that's kind of broad, but I tend to work with a lot of entrepreneurs and I work with people who are in their careers
Hmm.
and they want to move up. I actually have one of my clients, and I say this, she took a job
Hmm.
and she wants to find a new career. And so I help people really dive deep into help them figure out what they want and
Hmm.
how do we move that needle. And so the framework that I take people through is the LEAP framework, which is level up your communication.
Hmm.
It's energy, just defining your energy, where you are in your energy level. And I don't mean chakras. What I'm talking about is um, I was trained in something called energy leadership index assessment and the energy and an energy perception chart. And
Hmm.
so we go through 7 different levels of energy every day. Two of
Hmm.
them are catabolic, which are negative and downplaying, and then the other ones are anabolic, which are, you know, lifting up.
Right.
And so we always work within those and, you know, where we are under stress. So they these levels of energy look at how we look at things. Do you look at something with the lens of the victim or that conflict, or are you looking at it from a I win, you
Hmm.
win, we all win, the world's a win? So where are you in that frame of mind with your own personal energy? And then we look at your action plans that you're going to take. That's the A. And then I have my two
You're
P's.
talking, I hate to cut you off, but you are talking my language, girl. I'm telling you, I'm moved. I'm sitting there forgetting I'm in it. I'm just sitting here like I'm a clown. I'm moved, man. Just keep going. Keep going. All right.
And so the P part is propel and performance.
Right.
Because in order for us to, we can go into action, but in order to propel forward, we have to look at our performance. And as I always like to say, we need to that that performance and propel is we need to MMA our business and our lives. So
Mhm.
what's MMA? Yes, we're fighting, martial arts, right? But it's measure, monitor, and adjust.
Right.
Right. So we're always looking at that. So, one of the things that I learned in business and in consumer marketing is you have your control package
Hmm.
and then you're going to measure something against it. Maybe you're going to change the headline on the outside of an envelope.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're going to, we tested in, magazines, we tested headlines,
Yeah.
right? So what's the right headline that you're going to use? So what are you testing? We're going to monitor that. We're going to see the results. We're going to work on that for, I love 90 days. And then we're going to adjust
Hmm.
because we're going to either find a winner or a new winner and a new control, but we're going to look at MMA to help our performance to propel us forward. So and in that process, we are looking at, again, we're looking at that vision and mission statement. We're looking at what I call our achievement codes. What drives us? What do we like to live by? And how are we going to use that energy? Because, and I feel like this is a cliche saying, and people say it all the time, but our vibe attracts our tribe. If you're somebody who is energetic and super exciting and exuberant, you're going to attract people. But if you're somebody that's has this, your affect is negative and your sourpuss face, what
Right.
are you attracting? Or what is your belief? If you think I can't do it, or I'm not going to make this happen, guess what that does to you? Like that's a mindset here, but it changes your affect. So yes, if you are the person that says, I'm going to be Simone Biles, I'm going to be the next Tony Robbins, I'm going to, whatever, that's, I can do it. Right. And your energy shifts, you're going to attract more people. So how do we keep that energy up so that you're attracting the right people, the right clients, the right team members, the right people into your life? And how do you, what are the boundaries that we're setting?
Yeah.
It's because you can't bring everybody in with you.
You're
There
right.
are boundaries. We need to set boundaries. So what boundaries need to get set? So we look at that process and we help people leap.
Yeah, it's a fascinating it's a fascinating acronym from LEAP to then MMA. So I'm a sports guy. I grew up, hearing all sorts of acronyms and how they help, but it's one thing to actually say it, but then to apply it and then put it in the brains of young people so they know words can mean more than one meaning. And when they hear the word leap, when your youngins hear the word, or anyone your clients even hear the word leap, it takes on a completely different definition than what 99% of the people who don't know that acronym, what it means. So that acronym, I have a whole episode on just the importance and the value of acronyms. So, you know,
So I
but
have to share my favorite other acronym.
but
You probably heard this too, is team.
to get well, it's
Together, everyone achieves more.
everyone achieves more. I wasn't sure if we were on the same
Yeah,
page.
yeah, we're on the same page here.
Like, as innovative teamwork guy, I've heard a bunch of them, but yeah, together everyone achieves more. That's the common one. The
Yeah.
one that inspired the show, the one that I created is Swiftly, which is skilled, well-informed front team workers, and then you add L.Y, you lift yourself, whether you're a skilled guy or you want
Yeah.
to become a well-informed guy, be front team comes skilled. And I do workshops where I put the workers in categories, and that's how they connect to see how they add their L.Y and all that. So this is an acronym fest here, man. Man, I'm moved. Actually, the first one I ever learned was water when I was a little kid. We were what, fourth graders, and we were college, not college, a youth football team. Coach Brian came up with water, work ethic, attitude, teamwork, enthusiasm, and respect. I learned that in third grade. I just turned 35. I learned that in third grade. Jaclyn, and I could spit it off as if he was telling, as if he was like right here, just reminded me of it. That's how
I
there.
love that.
It's huge. That's the first one I learned. I would not have the brand and the book that I have now had that Coach Bryant not brought that whole water concept to us. So we're breaking the huddles. We're like, water, water. Everyone's looking like, what? Don't y'all serve me some water? It's like, no, it's a
Right.
completely
Different,
different.
different, right, right.
Right, it's on our
Right.
shirts and everything. So work ethic, attitude, teamwork, enthusiasm, and respect. So that's the
That is so, that is, I love that.
You know what gets me about that? And this is a coach. This is a youth football coach who is an accountant, I think, at like a Discovery. Like he would walk right by, he would never be, you would never know who he is. Just a regular dude. Like he works in I think it was like the Discovery Channel. He works like in their finance department. I remember seeing him when I was adult, and I thought he coached like full time. I thought that's what he did. That's how deep into it I was. But I'm like, wait, you like a hero to me. You just like a regular adult. I
Right.
mean, all the great stuff you're doing for us. So to me, like that taught me to make sure I'm living my life in a way that's honoring not just him, but the people that are doing these small things like unsung hero type guys, you know?
So one of the things that I love to, and that's a big part of me, and what I love to share, and what you just said is that, each and every one of us has a gift, right?
Yes.
And it may not necessarily, and he probably has a great gift at what he does on, during the day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's made it part of his mission to
Hmm.
leave the world a little bit better and to have an impact. And not that you have to have some crazy impact on everybody, but I always like to say, what at the end of the day, when your head hits the pillow,
Hmm.
if you were to give yourself a review, maybe it was Google, maybe it was whatever reviews company system, whatever you like,
Right.
but did you give yourself a 5-star review?
Yes.
Or 4-star, three, like, and so if you gave yourself a 5-star,
Hmm.
that meant you left the world you made people feel a little bit better than when you first met them, and you're helping people be a little bit better
Right.
than before. And if we
Hmm.
can do that, like, if to me, like, if I always felt like if everybody goes out in the day and they say, okay, how can I sprinkle something and leave every place I go a little bit better off,
Hmm.
how awesome would it be?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mindset. It really is a mindset issue, and you got to get the bitterness out of your system. You got to get, again, like we had discussed, that whole job concept. You got to just
Yes.
move that and start focusing on your career and your actual purpose. So, with that, I want to be very respectful of your time. You mentioned a retreat. You mentioned some things that you're going to be doing in the future. Feel
Yeah.
free to go ahead and plug away.
So yeah, so I'm super excited. I am doing a retreat September 12th through the 15th. It's going to be out here in Truckee, California, but it's really going to be all about igniting your power. And we're going to be doing some vision and mission work. We're also going to be looking at personal branding. We're going to dive deep. Um, we got a photographer coming so people can have branding shots and
Mm.
hair and makeup. Um, but it's going to be a really strong weekend of, you know, people coming together who really may may not be feeling their inner power, and they're going to leave feeling super powerful.
Hmm. Amen to that. Amen to that. And where can people get more information?
So go to my website. It's leaptoyoursuccess.com. I have there is a tab for events and retreats. So I've got a couple of speaking things that are happening next week, but the retreat is coming. So you'll see it coming soon. But just click on it, and so you can get more information.
Mhm.
And then if you go to my website too, you will also people can grab the Unstoppable Achievers Journal, which I have a digital version of this. So grab this, go through it, and then book a call with me, because I do a complimentary session for
Mhm.
people. There's a QR code in the digital version, but I also will send a note, but just grab this so that you can grab a call with me.
That's the best. Yeah, that's the best way to just get started. So, with all that, one of the things I do to close out all the shows, Jaclyn, and you already mentioned the word, I want you to actually use your imagination. It's about 30 years ago. You're in this, you're working your ass off, you're writing these articles, you're doing your thing, and you look up and you see a boss just kind of going through the motions, leaving when he wants to come. There's no mentorship there. I want you to pretend that that young lady has come into the Zoom room. She's right here with us. Just give her some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
No matter what happens, you make your life. You are the CEO of your life. And you know that you have to believe in your head and your heart, in yourself, and you can do anything.
That's strong. That's powerful. And that was heartfelt too. All right, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.